Good evening, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Defining Virtuosity. I'm Odin Rathnam, professor of violin at Cleveland State University. And this evening we continue our journey through the Wohlfahrt studies with number 38, marked Moderato. This is probably one of the more difficult etudes in the 60 studies of Wohlfahrt, in that it combines a lot of different skills with what can be played in a number of tempi, leading to quite a number of challenges associated with the various tempi. However, in the spirit of always beginning slowly, I would again advise the student, in order to check left-hand actions, to begin with the passage practiced in slurs, to keep the left hand honest about where it is at any given time with a metronome. You can use 4-note slurs or 8-note slurs. So starting in the very beginning, we would simply mark out all of these arpeggios and descending scales with quarter-note valued slurs with 4/16ths in them, and if you have a combination of repeated notes that and separate notes, that would become then an eighth plus 2/16ths. So the pattern could be practiced. Then we have 2 chords. A couple of little suggestions. In this old Schirmer edition, there are some antiquated fingerings. I suggest that the student consider the third line first measure, playing in 4th position, and extending, staying in position for the next one. So grabbing the B flat on the D string, and then doing the extended 5th shape on the A string, so as not to cross as many strings. And then 3rd position, 1st position. The next change at the last bar of the fifth measure, shift early instead of doing shift here. And then the same. Looking onto the sixth line down, when we come to the fourth measure and fifth measure, the last two measures of the fifth line down, or sixth line down, pardon me, this C major arpeggio system, I sneak to second position at the very end. Okay, so use the open string here, but then third finger. And then stay in second position for the next line or so of music until here. On the up bow, take that same note with the second finger and second position here. Stay in second position for 3 measures until this half step and find first. And then we're home. After you've mastered these few fingering changes and the 4-note slur, go on to practicing it with 8 notes to a bow. When we add the problems of the left hand, which would be various détachés and phrase lengths to these melismas of notes, we want to be able to count on the left hand. So practicing these slurs first brings us face to face with the difficulties of left hand articulation, shifting, and intonation. And it's not easy. The author does not specify what type of stroke is to be used here. But I begin with having my younger students further from the frog and practicing a détaché stroke to continue working the out and in and the motor of the forearm at the elbow joint. So they don't have to play particularly fast, but having done the slurs, it gets us in the habit of keeping the left hand relaxed and ahead of the bow. So you would then take some sort of a moderate tempo, perhaps, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and use a fairly in the string broad stroke. Now, even at this stage of development in Book 2 of Wohlfahrt Studies, I like to introduce the aspiring young player, especially if I see a level of ease and talent, to the notion of speeding things up and to developing virtuosic bowing already within their first 2 years of study. So this can be played quite a bit faster, and we can make use of some of the other strokes that I've been teaching in Book 1 and Book 2, including the brush stroke, the spiccato, and the sautier. So this study can be turned into basically almost a caprice for a young artist by simply making the tempo much faster. Again, you want to make sure that the left hand is very quiet and working easily legato all the way through all of this. So you would again encourage the student first to make sure that the left hand can do everything super easily. And then you would start at a moderate tempo, not as much at the tip, but more in the middle reaches of the bow, so that we can sometimes move to the balancing point for a sort of controlled brush stroke, and we can move a little further away for the détachés and for the faster sautiers as we're playing. So the study can become quite a bit faster, but again, first then and so on and so forth. And this way encourage them to explore what their potential is. How relaxed can they stay at a faster tempo? And then we can make the ending harder by adding to the chords the same kind of voice leading that is used in the end of Last Rose of Summer. So at the ending, we can turn it more into a caprice and make it more exciting by adding a few notes of and create a more sort of bravura ending for that. And young artists love that. They feel like they're playing some sort of a caprice. So I hope that this little tutorial will help you to organize how to get from point A to point B. If you enjoyed this, please like and share my page and subscribe. And thank you for listening. Have a good evening.